You're lying in bed right now. The room completely dark except for the cold blue glow of your phone screen. Your thumb scrolls without thinking. Your eyes are heavy, but your mind refuses to shut down. You tell yourself this is a modern problem. Too much screen time, too much caffeine, too much stress. But what if the real reason you can't sleep has nothing to do with any of those things? What if your insomnia is not a failure of modern life, but a ghost of something far more ancient? Something your ancestors did every single night that would completely shock you. Because the truth about ancient human nights is not what any textbook ever taught you. We imagine our prehistoric ancestors huddling in caves, terrified of the darkness, just waiting for dawn. But that picture is dead wrong. And the real story changes everything about how you see your own nighttime habits. Archaeology, evolutionary biology, and sleep science have pieced together a completely different picture. The night was not a void of terror. It was the most alive, the most creative, the most social part of the day. And the way they spent those hours is so counterintuitive that you will never look at your own bedroom the same way. So put down your phone for a moment, take a breath, and prepare to have everything you thought you knew about sleep turn upside down. Because the answer to why you lie awake at night is not about your habits. It's about your evolutionary wiring. Think about the last time you woke up in the middle of the night. What did you do? Did you feel alone? Did your mind race? What if that middle of the night wakefulness wasn't a disorder, but a deeply ingrained ancestral blueprint? The reframe starts with a single fact: ancient humans did not sleep the way we do. Not even close. For most of human existence, night was not a single, unbroken stretch of unconsciousness. It was a rich, layered experience divided into distinct chapters, each with its own purpose and emotional texture. To understand why you toss and turn at 3 a.m., you have to travel back to a world without electricity, without walls, without alarms. A world where the setting sun meant not the end of activity, but the beginning of a completely different kind of human existence. And the first thing you need to unlearn is the myth that ancient humans were simple, primitive, and fearful of the dark. They were not passive victims of the night. They were masters of it. They engineered their nights with intention and ritual. Fire was the key, but not just for warmth or safety. Fire did something far more profound to the human mind. It extended the day. It pushed back the terror of the unknown, and it created a new kind of social space. Around those flames, our ancestors did things that would seem almost alien to us now. They told stories that encoded survival knowledge. They resolved conflicts that would have torn groups apart. They built bonds that turn a loose collection of individuals into a tribe that could take on mammoths and saber-tooths. But there's an even stranger layer to this story, a layer that sleep scientists only fully confirmed in the last 2 decades. And that layer involves the most shocking part of the ancient human night: what actually happened after they first fell asleep. Dr. Ekirch, a historian of the night, uncovered something remarkable in pre-industrial European records. People talked about first sleep and second sleep as if they were completely normal, everyday concepts. They would sleep for about 4 hours, wake up for 1 to 2 hours, and then sleep again until dawn. This pattern, called segmented sleep, was once the human baseline across cultures and continents. But the waking interval between first and second sleep was the real heart of the ancient night. It was not a moment of anxiety or loneliness. It was a time of deep intimacy, creativity, and productivity. People wrote letters. They made love. They meditated. They talked with family members they had not seen all day. In many cultures, this middle hour was considered the best time for spiritual reflection and dream incubation. Now fast forward even further back to the Pleistocene, when our ancestors lived as nomadic hunter-gatherers. Dr. Samson and his team studied modern-day hunter-gatherers like the Hadza in Tanzania. They found that these groups rarely slept through the night in the way we consider normal. They woke frequently. They shifted positions. They checked the fire. They listened to the night sounds. And crucially, they did not experience that middle-of-the-night waking as a problem. It was just part of the rhythm. Dr. Walker, a prominent sleep neuroscientist, explains that our modern consolidated sleep is actually the historical anomaly. For 99.9% of human evolution, segmented sleep was the norm. But here's the part that will genuinely shock you. The waking interval was not just tolerated. It was actively cultivated. Anthropological evidence suggests that our ancestors used the middle of the night for something we have almost entirely lost: pure communal time. The darkness outside the firelight was absolute. The stars were overwhelming. The world felt both vast and intimate. Around the fire, people shared dreams. They interpreted them. They wove them into the collective narrative of the group. This was not idle chatter. Dream sharing was a form of threat assessment, social bonding, and emotional regulation. Dr. Nunn, an evolutionary anthropologist, points out that dreams often contain simulations of social conflict. By sharing those dreams, ancient humans could practice resolving conflicts in a safe, imaginary space. The fire itself played a starring role in this nightly drama. Dr. Wrangham's work on fire use shows that controlling fire pushed back the active hours of hominids by several hours. That extra time around the fire became the crucible of human culture: language, storytelling, music, and ritual. Think about it. Without fire, our ancestors would have gone to sleep at sunset and woken at sunrise. Fire gave them stolen hours. Hours that belonged not to the hunt, not to the grind of survival, but to the human mind itself. And those stolen hours changed the course of our evolution. They favored those who could think abstractly, who could plan, who could connect. But wait, there's a second wave of evidence that complicates this picture in a fascinating way. Not all ancient nights were social and peaceful. The night also posed the greatest threat to survival. Predators hunt in the dark. Enemy tribes can approach undetected. The cold can kill a sleeping person. This is where the sentinel hypothesis comes in. Someone always had to stay awake while others slept. Groups likely rotated watch duty, with individuals waking naturally to take their turn. This is another reason why segmented sleep emerged. It guaranteed that the fire was never unattended for too long. The person on watch was not just a guard. They were the keeper of the flame, literally and metaphorically. They watched the embers. They listened for strange sounds. They watched the stars move across the sky. And in those quiet hours, they would have had the most precious thing a prehistoric mind could access: uninterrupted thinking time. This is where tools were conceived, where hunts were strategized, where the first maps of the stars were drawn. The night shift was not punishment. It was a sacred duty that connected the watcher to the entire group's survival. Now, consider this: children in ancient groups slept in a pile. There were no separate rooms, no silence, no darkness of isolation. They slept on the ground, surrounded by the breath, movement, and warmth of their entire extended family. The sound of people murmuring, snoring, shifting was the white noise of safety. Dr. Ekirch's research also revealed that couples in the Middle Ages often used the waking interval for intimacy. But that intimacy was not just physical. It was conversational. It was confessional. It was when secrets were shared. All of this, the fire, the stories, the shared dreams, the sentinel watches, the segmented sleep, formed a complex nighttime ecosystem. And here is the twist within the twist. Modern sleep science has confirmed that our brains are actually designed for this segmented rhythm. During the waking interval, our brain produces a surge of prolactin and growth hormone, the very hormones that promote calm and repair. This middle waking period is also when our memory consolidation is most active. It's when we process complex emotional experiences. So not only was the ancient night socially rich, it was biologically optimized for mental health. But something changed, and that change is directly responsible for the anxiety that plagues your own nights. The Industrial Revolution brought artificial light. The electric bulb flooded the night and erased its ancient boundaries. Suddenly, humans could work, play, and consume at any hour. The rhythm of first and second sleep collapsed into a single block. But our biology did not adapt nearly fast enough. We are still carrying the software of a prehistoric nighttime brain. Your brain still expects to wake up in the middle of the night. It still expects to see firelight, to hear voices. Instead, it sees total darkness, total silence, total isolation. And it interprets that as danger. That sinking feeling at 3 a.m., that racing heart, that is your ancient sentinel brain screaming you are alone. Where's the tribe? You are not broken. You are not failing at sleep. You are experiencing a deep evolutionary mismatch. Dr. Walker has shown that insomnia is not simply a sleep disorder. It is often a hyperarousal disorder rooted in threat perception. And nothing triggers that threat perception more than being alone in the dark with nothing but your own thoughts. In the ancestral environment, being awake in the dark meant you had a purpose. Watch the fire, watch the children, tell a story. Now, being awake in the dark means scrolling, worrying, replaying the day's failures. And that is a recipe for chronic stress. But here is the surprising upside of this entire picture. Your nocturnal wakefulness is not a defect. It is a feature. It is the ghost of a rich, communal, deeply human experience that your ancestors treasured. If you have ever woken at 3 a.m. with a sudden burst of creative insight, that is the ancient inventor's hour. If you have ever had a deep, unfiltered conversation with a partner in the middle of the night, that is the intimacy hour. So here is the shocking truth that turns everything upside down. Ancient humans were not afraid of the night. They loved it. The night was their time, their creative space, their social sanctuary, their therapeutic hour. They did not run from the darkness. They filled it with meaning, connection, and ritual. The very thing that makes you anxious, being awake when the world is asleep, was once the most anticipated part of the day. And the twist gets deeper. Our ancestors did not view sleep as a switch to be flipped. They viewed it as a journey. First sleep was for physical recovery. The waking interval was for the mind and the tribe. Second sleep was for dreaming and integration. Each phase had a distinct purpose. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was feared. We have lost that framework. We have compressed the entire rich landscape of the night into one gray, flat block of unconsciousness. And when we inevitably wake in the middle, we panic. We think something is wrong, but nothing is wrong. You're experiencing a normal, ancestral, biologically ingrained pattern. The problem is not the waking. The problem is what we do with the waking. We reach for the phone instead of reaching for a conversation. We stare at a screen instead of staring at the stars. We feel isolated when, for 1,000,000 years, the middle of the night was the time of deepest connection. The real shock is this: if you transported a prehistoric human to your bedroom at 3 a.m., they would not understand your fear. They would look for the fire. They would look for the other bodies. They would look for the storyteller. And when they found none, they would feel the exact same dread that you do. The dread of being severed from the tribe. The night has not changed. We have changed the night. And that change has cost us something we are only beginning to understand. So the next time you wake at 3 a.m., do not curse yourself. Do not check the time. Do not reach for the blue glow. Instead, remember the fire. Remember the voices. Remember that your ancestors are with you in that moment, across the vast distance of time. Now, bring this all back to your life. You go to bed alone, or with one other person at most. In a room separated by walls, you lie in total silence, total darkness, total stillness. This is not how any human slept for 99% of our existence. Your sentinel brain detects the absence of the group. It interprets this as exile. And exile meant death on the savannah. That is why your heart races. That is why your thoughts spiral. Your brain is saying, get back to the group. You are not safe alone, but you cannot get back to a group that no longer exists in your modern sleeping arrangement. So what do you do? The answer is surprisingly simple, and it comes directly from the ancient playbook. First, accept the wakefulness. Do not fight it. Do not medicate it. It is not a disorder. Second, replace the fire. Not with a screen, but with a dim, warm light. A candle, a low wattage lamp. Third, use that waking interval the way your ancestors did. Read something meaningful. Write in a journal. Have a quiet conversation. Do not check your email. Do not scroll social media. That blue light signals daytime to your brain and kills the magic of the interval. Keep a notebook by your bed. In the middle of the night, ideas come differently. Capture them. That is the inventor's hour. If you have a partner, use that time to connect without the distractions of the day. Talk about your dreams. Talk about your fears. You are recreating the ancient fire circle. You are bringing the tribe back into your bedroom. And the most modern mirror of all the loneliness epidemic of the 21st century is directly linked to the loneliness of our isolated nights. We are more connected than ever during the day, but completely alone in the dark. That contradiction is destroying our mental health. Ancient humans had no smartphones, no social media, no artificial light. But they had something we have lost: to shared darkness. They faced the terror of the night together. And that togetherness transformed terror into intimacy. You cannot unplug the world. You cannot return to the savannah. But you can reclaim the meaning of the night. You can start tonight. When you wake at 3 a.m., do not reach for the phone. Reach for a thought. Reach for a breath. Reach for the presence of your ancestors. You're lying in bed right now. The room is dark, but the screen is off. And for the first time, you understand that the darkness is not an enemy. It is a doorway. Your ancestors walked through that doorway every single night. They found not monsters, but community. They found creativity. They found love. They found themselves. The insomnia you have been fighting is not a curse. It is a call to reclaim the most ancient part of your humanity. Every time you wake in the dark, you have a choice: to scroll or to remember. Remember that you are not alone. Remember that your brain is wired for connection, not isolation. Remember the fire. Remember the tribe. Remember the rhythm that carried your species to every corner of the earth. The night is not the end of the day. It is the beginning of a different kind of life. A life that pulses with warmth, with voices, with stories that never end. So close your eyes, breathe, and know that the night has always belonged to you. It belongs to all of us.